They say faith offers salvation, but for one woman in medieval England, it became a cage she had to break free from. In 1318, a young nun named Joan of Leeds faked her own death using a carefully crafted dummy and staged burial, executing the perfect vanishing act to escape her convent. While the sisters mourned, Joan shed her habit and disappeared into the world beyond. This is a story of rebellion hidden in silence, and a whisper of defiance that echoes through the centuries. If you enjoy these forgotten tales, subscribe and share your thoughts below. The towering stone walls of the York convent cast long shadows over narrow courtyards, echoing with the sound of footsteps and whispered prayers. Life inside was regimented. Dawn bells pulled women from sleep, meals followed strict schedules, and silence filled the empty spaces between ritual and devotion. Young women entered for many reasons: family decisions, social expectations, or true spiritual calling. For Joan of Leeds, the walls that promised safety quickly felt like chains. Every glance, every word, every sigh was measured, controlled, and judged. The habit she wore symbolized devotion, but also servitude. At night, candlelight flickered across wooden pews, revealing the restless thoughts of those trapped in a life they hadn't chosen. Joan's eyes often lingered on the tiny window that looked out onto a bustling world beyond the cloister. She could hear the distant sounds of the market, the laughter of children, the calls of traders, an echo of life she would never touch if she stayed. What appeared sacred turned suffocating. She learned quickly that piety alone could not satisfy the human need for choice. The convent offered structure, protection, and spiritual purpose, but it came at the cost of freedom. Each day felt like an eternity, a slow erosion of her spirit under the guise of devotion. Desperation often breeds extraordinary cunning. Joan, young and intelligent, recognized that escape required not just stealth, but theater. She feigned illness convincingly, her body growing pale, her movements slow, until whispers spread that she might not survive the night. Then came her masterstroke, a carefully constructed dummy, stuffed with rags, bound in her clothing. The sisters performed the customary prayers, sang hymns, and laid the body in sacred ground, all the while believing Joan had passed from the world of the living. Even the Archbishop, William Melton, recorded the event in official registers, calling it a scandalous rumor, in which she staged her death to pursue the way of carnal lust. Yet the truth was simpler and far more human. A young woman reclaiming agency in a world that left her none. A funeral without a body. This act of cunning was dangerous. Discovery could mean punishment, public shame, or even death. Yet Joan executed it with precision and bravery. Each stitch in her dummy was a step toward freedom. Every whispered prayer became a rehearsal for the life she was about to seize. When the night fell quiet, Joan moved. Cloaked in shadows, she left the convent behind, moving through the twisting streets of York. Her pulse raced with fear, but the thrill of autonomy quickened her step. Freedom was no longer an idea. It was a path she was walking, one careful stride at a time. Archaeologists and historians suggest she likely headed toward Beverley, about 30 miles away. For each mile, she shed the identity imposed on her by stone walls and unyielding rules. She cast off the habit, tucked away the symbols of her previous life, and embraced the uncertainty of the open world. Sewn into freedom, one stitch at a time. The journey was not without peril. The roads were dangerous, and travelers risked highwaymen, wild animals, and disease. Yet, each obstacle became a proof of her resolve. She was no longer a passive participant in her life. She was an agent of her destiny, shaping her path in real time. Arriving in Beverley, Joan found anonymity in the crowded streets and marketplaces. Every day demanded vigilance. Every interaction was calculated, a delicate dance to avoid recognition and capture. Yet each small victory, the freedom to choose her meal, her path, her companions, was intoxicating. The city itself offered lessons in adaptation. She learned the rhythms of commerce, the hum of laborers, and the hidden lives of women navigating public space independently. Shadows became her allies, and the bustling city her new cloister, inverting the confinement she had left behind. Every small choice was a rebellion. In the evenings, she reflected on her former life. The rituals, the chants, the suffocating obedience, all of it now a memory, distant yet vivid. She understood, more than ever, that the essence of freedom was not merely escape from walls, but the ability to direct her own existence. The news of Joan's disappearance eventually reached York. Archbishop Melton's letters described her defiance as an affront to the church and a perversion of her vows. The convent was in turmoil, mourning a life they believed lost, while unknowingly harboring the most daring act of rebellion in recent memory. Joan's actions sparked curiosity and fear alike. Stories of her ingenuity traveled through towns and markets, whispered by those fascinated by her audacity. In a world dominated by hierarchy and authority, she became a symbol of courage, of cunning, and of the human will to reclaim agency. Condemned by ink, her fate unwritten, her story serves as a bridge between past and present. Even today, it resonates as a testament to human ingenuity and the enduring desire for autonomy. It reminds us that courage does not always roar. Sometimes it is the quiet, deliberate act of seizing control over one's own life. Joan's struggle mirrors modern challenges. Today, laws and norms still restrict freedom. According to UN Women's 2024 report, over 245 million women live under laws or norms that deny their personal freedom. Her tale reminds us that liberation requires courage and ingenuity. Breaking silence, leaving imposed roles, or claiming autonomy remains revolutionary. Hidden chains are still chains. Joan vanished quietly, leaving only a record in a register. Yet her legacy endures, the triumph of will over limitation, and the power of ingenuity against authority. As historian Sarah Rees-Jones notes, Joan's escape was extraordinary, revealing the desperation of a life denied and the ingenuity of a spirit unbroken. Freedom often demands one final act of defiance. Her story teaches that even the most silenced voices can find expression, and the oppressed can forge paths to liberty, leaving a timeless echo of courage,